Hello and welcome to the RPG Rundown. I'm Seth.
And I'm Jeff. From Dungeons to Deep Space, we have the systems and the stories for your table. Hey, welcome back to the RPG Rundown. This is the first episode of our 6th season. Kind of crazy to think about. Tonight, we're going to take a look at another one of our critical review points, and that is going to be in-game mechanics. This is what we all nerd out about, right? These invisible rules that determine what is possible, what is probable, or powerful inside of your game world. So they assist us in applying the physics to the fiction that we aim to make, great games that is fun for players and GMs alike. And so today, we're just going to deep dive into these in-game mechanics.
Absolutely, that's right. And it's often these unique mechanics that define the different tabletop RPG systems that we play. And that is why Jeff and I started this channel so that we could test out so many different types of TTRPGs. We want to experience the breadth of in-game mechanics. And so in today's episode, we're going to discuss these different types of mechanics and how they affect the collaborative storytelling. But before we get into the heart of today's topic, we need to catch up on some hobby progress. And also, we've kind of been trying to catch up just a little bit with ourselves because since we ended last season, Jeff and I have hardly had a chance to speak.
Yeah, no, barely. Yeah, a couple texts here and there, and that's been about it.
Yeah, it has been insanely busy for both of us. And so, Jeff, I am super pumped to get back to it, even if we only get to, talk, in and around our recordings here. I'm super glad to get back to it. So
no, me too, man. It's been awesome, man. I was telling Seth before this, like I've kind of taken a hiatus from content creation just for a couple months during the off season here, and my whole setup was torn apart. I have like one light out. I don't even know if anyone can tell, but one of my lights just didn't come back on. I got to figure that out after the recording. But
you're looking good. You're looking good. You got a little shadow on you, but it's not too bad.
I stole a lamp from the living room to get a little extra light on the green screen because this whole side was dark.
Awesome.
So yeah, we got it worked out.
I have a little extra light over here, so you can kind of see it on my face a little bit because I got a new light for my paint station, which I'll talk about in a minute. But
oh, nice.
But let's just dive into that, shall we? So we are going to get into games, hobby progress, things we're excited about that has happened over the last 2 months at this point, Jeff. Goodness,
I think it's been about 2 months. That seems about right.
February 1st. Yeah, and we skipped all of January and December. So but I'll start us off. I actually in December got to play Daggerheart in person.
Nice.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make this happen, and I text my in-person group and was like, hey, what do you guys think? It's December. I'm taking some time off. Are you guys taking any time off? And so literally the week between Christmas and New Year, a bunch of us were off. And so we went and we played on a night where none of us had to get up the next day.
Good
and
call.
So we stayed up. We got together about 5:30, and so first of all, it was Austin from Hearth and Hammer. Good friend of ours. And then my friends Dave and Kyle, who are now part of Hearth and Hammer, campaign 2, even though we've been on hiatus from that. But they live here, and Austin lives here, and we've played, like all of us have played together once, or no, maybe we haven't. We've just been playing Hearth and Hammer. And it's funny because even like Austin and Kyle have connections. Like, it's like one of them knows the other's sister, kind of thing.
Right. Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty funny, but and then my son Grayson, my oldest, played with us too. So it was pretty special for all of us to be able to get together. We cooked meat and had delicious dinner together.
See,
And
that is
then
like the best part of playing in person is like you
yes,
get to have food and snacks and like I don't
yeah.
it's just awesome, man.
Kyle smoked some meat on his smoker, and it
Oh,
was
yeah.
delicious. Um, I brought some like salad and some other stuff, and Austin brought some dip, and it was just a lot of fun. So,
Mhm.
but it went really well, and we played the Sablewood Messengers. However,
Okay. Mhm.
we played Trek's remix of the
Ooh,
Sablewood Messengers. And if you don't know
okay.
who Trek is, he's a YouTuber. Um, he looks like a little like he uses a 2D, what's it called? Like a 2D
Mhm.
cartoon animation for all his
Yeah.
videos. And he looks
I
like a
know I
little,
know the word you're thinking of, and I can't think of it
I can't
either.
think of it, but
Yeah.
he looks like a little like orb automaton is what he looks like.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
you know who I'm
I
talking
think
about
I know what
now.
you're talking about. Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
So he played um he played Daggerheart and really liked it,
Mhm.
but he found he had some problems with the Sablewood Messengers, which first and foremost, he did agree, like, and I have said this the entire time too.
Mhm.
It is one of the best onboarding
Mhm.
experiences for a TTRPG,
It
especially
is.
for the GM, but in
Yep.
general,
Mhm.
for
I mean,
all
just
parties
teaching your
involved.
players the basics,
Yeah.
the
Well,
fear hope system and everything. Yeah.
except when I was watching his video, he was like, you know what? It does a good job. It does a great job. And the fact that the character sheets for the players have the sidecar, which is an
Mhm.
amazing
Oh,
addition.
sidecar's amazing. Yeah.
Because there's a sidecar that's incredible, because there's level up information that's incredible.
Mhm.
But he's like, you know what though? Unfortunately, the Sablewood Messengers doesn't actually do a great job with all the mechanics. And
Mm.
I was reading through again. I was like, oh my gosh, you're
Mhm.
right. Because he mentioned several things. Go watch his YouTube video. I'm not going to go over them
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
But he remixed it. Okay. And
Mhm.
it's incredible. It is incredible. It flows so much more naturally than
Okay.
Sablewood
Yeah.
Messengers. Um, you basically he took some baddies from the last encounter and put them in an early encounter instead
Mhm.
of the encounter around the wagon at the beginning
Mhm. Yep.
with the, what were they called? Strixwolf pups and the
Mhm.
mom as just normal beasts. He has it. He basically created. There's only one Strixwolf, and he has it this as this like magical fey creature, and so it's like a proper like high kind of high intellect kind of high level
Mhm.
um in NPC enemy, and so you have different options there. You could attack it. You could try to, if you talk to it a certain way, it'll make a deal with you.
Mhm.
And it's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And so yeah, it's very cool. Also, oh, that was one of the
That's
things. The village and how you interacted with the village was kind of weird in the
Mhm.
original, and so he fixed
Yeah.
that. Um, Man, it was so good. It was so good.
Yeah.
And so in person, fantastic. Loved it.
Mhm. Did everyone enjoy the system? Was it their
They
first time
did.
playing
They
Daggerheart?
did. It was all
Okay.
their first time playing Daggerheart. Um, Actually, I take that back. Kyle and Dave played like 2 encounters from the original
Okay. Okay.
Sablewood
Yeah.
during beta. But it was literally like we played 2 encounters. It was like a 45-minute recording of Hearth and Hammer. Because
Right.
I went back and found it, and I was like, man, we got started late or something, and it just
Mhm.
ended up not being very much. But man, going through the whole thing, a lot of fun. Yeah. So,
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
um, and it was made easier by Demiplane, obviously,
Oh, Demi
because
Plane's
they
fantastic.
have all the playtest stuff as well. So
Mhm. Oh, nice.
it was very cool. But okay, so that was my long explanation. To the
Mhm.
other 3 things I wanted to talk about in my hobby time. Um, so there is a new RPG coming soon from Magpie Games. Now, if you
Mhm.
all remember, we're not the biggest fan of Magpie Games because the avatar system that they came up with, we did not really like.
Yeah.
Mostly
It's hard
mostly
to
the
say if
beginner
we didn't like
box.
the system or
That's
if we
true.
didn't like the intro adventure.
We really need to give
We
it
don't know
another
yet.
chance. So I apologize to those out there who are like, why didn't you like it? It's a great system. It very well could be. The
Yeah.
beginner box, not great. I have the beginner
Yeah.
box. I was super excited for the beginner box. But it's not great. It's too the way we review things is like we try
Mhm.
to review it as it is, and it
Mhm.
was too sandboxy
Yeah.
for
For an
for
intro adventure.
most intro
Yeah.
adventures. Yes.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean,
and
I
not
love a
just
sandbox campaign, but for
not
an intro
just
adventure,
right.
like introducing you to
Well,
the game, no, I wouldn't get
and it
it.
wasn't just that it was a sandbox. It was that it was a sandbox that in the intro adventure wanted you to go over weeks and weeks of time in the one shot campaign narrative that they were giving you.
Mhm.
And it was just like, man, that's yeah, okay. Anyway.
Yeah,
So,
anyway,
but
yeah.
however,
Yeah.
they are partnering with
Mhm.
an author, Naomi Novak, who has written one of my favorite book series. It is called Temeraire. And it is basically if you took the Napoleonic Wars and you made dragons real.
Ooh, okay.
So think so there's 9 books or 10 books in the series,
Mhm.
and they're all I have them all in audio. They're amazing. Think basically Jane Austen meets fantasy, right? You've got
Okay.
like the main character is this very prim and proper naval captain. Um, and yeah, and it's great. Love it.
What's the series called?
It's called Temeraire. Temeraire.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, okay.
Temeraire. Which
Okay.
is an actual real life historical ship. Okay.
Okay.
And so basically what Naomi Novak did was that she wrote the entire series to be historical fiction, right? And
Mhm.
even to the point of saying like most of the big things that happen in history are they still happen, but there's dragons.
Mhm. But there's
and
dragons, right?
and
And
the
they're gonna
dragons
play. That's
are domesticated and they are basically
Mhm.
like they're called the aerial corps. And so
Okay.
you have a dragon captain who
Mhm.
is bonded with the dragon,
Okay.
and then you have a crew. And that crew basically the dragon has a harness and there's rings all over the harness and sometimes armor depending, and the crew basically have carabiners with leather harnesses on themselves, and they can
Mhm.
tether and climb all over the dragon, and you have
Mhm.
like riflemen on the top, you have bellmen on the bottom who are dropping bombs,
Oh, wow.
you have
Okay, yeah.
grounds crew. I mean it's this really cool system.
That's cool.
um
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
100%
no,
recommend
I'll check
to
it out.
read. 100%.
Mhm.
And the books are not long. It takes me like I like the audiobooks are like 10 hours. So
Okay. Yeah, it's
you
definitely
can
short.
easily listen to them while you're working on
Mhm.
something like woodworking and something. Oh man.
Right, yeah.
And if you listen to them, Jeff, we shall discuss them because
Okay, we
I'm
absolutely
serious.
will.
This is one of my favorite series. Like, and it's cool because like
Really?
the first
Okay.
book is like all about how Captain Lawrence gets Temeraire, the dragon,
Mhm.
and his discovery and like kind of their discovery of the world together because Temeraire is hatched
Okay.
from an egg. He has to basically bond with Temeraire, and he has to give up being a naval captain to become an aerial captain. And
Mm.
so there's lots of stuff that goes on with that. But
Yeah, dude, okay.
so
I'll check it out.
anyway,
I'm reading The Faithful and the Fallen right now, but as soon as I finish that, I'll check out Temeraire.
oh man,
Sounds
yeah.
awesome.
I'm already listening through I'm on the 4th book right now. And I started it like 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, it's pretty
So
quick.
yeah, it is.
Alright.
It's very quick. It's very quick. It's easy to understand,
Nice.
easy to follow.
But
But
with all that, there's
with
a
all that, there's a
yeah.
TTRPG coming out soon from Magpie
Yeah.
Games, and they are going to. It's supposed to be a new system, and well, not completely new, but it's not the Avatar system. So it's a
Okay.
different system. So we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see how it works.
Alright.
I'm hopeful, but
Mhm.
I'm also super excited just to see a ton of art, like ton of art. Um,
Yeah.
And because I'm so excited about it, I may even reach out to them and see if I can in any way get, like if we can review it, test it,
Yeah,
whatever.
we
Like
can play test
I
it. Yeah,
may
that'd
I
be
may
great.
push ourselves on that a little bit,
Right,
and use
yeah.
our experience. So, um, okay, moving on, and I promise I will move on very fast. Wing Feather Saga. Are you familiar with that?
I am,
So
yes.
for those who are not familiar with Wing Feather Saga, it's actually a kids book series. My youngest son has read them. They're the cartoon series out, which is actually really good.
It
And
is,
it is
and
a
my kids have
really,
watched the cartoon series.
yes, we've watched the first season. We haven't watched it anymore, but it's produced by the cartoon series is produced by Angel Studios, which is a faith-based TV film studio. They're putting
Yeah.
out some incredible works. Actually, there's a new movie coming out at the end of this week. Excuse me, February 6th, called Solo Mio, and
Hmm.
it's Kevin
Mhm.
James, and he
Oh,
it's
yes.
it's the rom-com with Kevin
That's right.
James in
Yeah, he
Italy or
plays the
something like
teacher,
that.
right?
I don't know what
Okay.
his job is. I just know that he's in Italy and it's a rom-com and it's coming
Yeah,
out on
yeah.
February 6th. And so
Mhm.
yeah, they've produced that. They're also doing the Young Washington movie that's coming out on July 4th, which I'm excited. I
Okay.
love historic
Yeah.
films. So
Yeah, yeah,
um
I'll just
so anyway, they came out with a TTRPG for Wing Feather.
that's awesome.
Um I don't have it physically, and it was like
Mhm,
35 bucks for the digital stuff.
mhm,
But yeah, it's really cool. And I have it, and so that's one of the things I want to play. And then
mhm.
for Christmas, I got a really awesome paint light. It is on a boom arm that comes up, and then it's kind of like this arch, like the light is this half circle, and so I
Oh,
can
that's
move it
cool.
around, and they're
Yeah.
adjustable, so it's pretty amazing.
Nice,
So
man.
that, and then I got some other paint gear. But
Yeah.
so hey, sorry,
Nice.
that was a lot for me. But
You're good, you're good.
Jeff, what have you been doing?
Oh, dude. Okay. So a bit. I've also been playing Daggerheart. If anyone listened last season, I actually had an active Daggerheart campaign in person with my group, and it's been fantastic. So we actually finally concluded that campaign. It was originally supposed to be a 5-session mini campaign. I think we ended up somewhere around 14 sessions. And we got to the conclusion, and yeah, it really ended up being really good. My entire group loved the campaign. They all love Daggerheart now. Actually, I was telling Seth this beforehand. My most experienced TTRPG player actually said in one of our recent sessions that Daggerheart is his favorite TTRPG now, and so I was
Awesome.
like, that's pretty awesome. But yeah, so we concluded that campaign arc, and I will say this: in the next to last session we had, there was a short combat. The big bad wasn't quite there, but he sent his minions in, and Reborn, a mutual friend of ours, had his very first character ever to fully die, and so he was playing a Fongrel
I'm
named Toad.
I'm only sorry it couldn't have been me, Reborn. If you
Yeah,
watch
I
this.
know. Yes, yeah. I mean, he was kind of visibly distraught too. He's like, I didn't expect to be emotional about the death of a character. But yes, I mean, it was really cool. And so I had a few characters die throughout the campaign. It's I feel like Daggerheart's death mechanics are a lot more cinematic, I guess is maybe the best way to put them. There
Yeah,
are
they are
options
cinematic for
within
sure.
death anyway.
Hmm.
And so we had a couple of character deaths, and that came into play because one of our characters that died, Reborn's character actually, took his body and put it into the fire pit. They didn't know at the time that fire pit at the place that I called Wellspring Grove, that fire pit was actually a portal into the big bad's kind of holding grounds, right? Like out he was out and active, but he was not physically out and active. And so whenever they had the fight with the big bad, their dead friend came back to life and fought against them on behalf. And so it was
Ooh,
really cool. It was a really big, like kind of cinematic moment.
that's awesome.
and and stuff. So it was a lot of fun. We concluded that, and I gave my players the choice. We're going to take a few week hiatus where a couple of my other guys are running a few things, and I actually get to be a player. And so that's been fun. We actually played some 5e this week, but where I gave them the choice, like, hey, do we want to, continue this campaign with the same characters, but we can go into a different arc? Do we want to do a brand new campaign? Do we want to play a different system? Like, what do you guys want to do? And everyone decided they wanted to keep this campaign going, just on a new arc. So we're going to continue playing within the Witherwild campaign frame is what we're playing in.
Nice, nice.
In the meantime, I'm writing for that.
That's awesome. I was super tempted before I had decided on the Trex remix for Sablewood. I was super tempted to try to create my own. What's the last campaign frame that they have in the book? Mother.
Oh
Something.
yes. The Mothership. Is that it?
It's not Mothership. That's the like RPG that a lot of people write.
Yeah. That's the fiction or whatever. Sci-fi one.
It's a sci-fi. It's essentially like a think Horizon Zero Dawn or something. Even Shadowrun, where it's like magic and technology kind of blend together. I was super tempted. So that if I ever run a campaign, I may go that route. Daggerheart.
So this has been, I love the campaign frames with Daggerheart. I actually found one on the Daggerheart Reddit, on the Daggerheart like subreddit. Someone actually created a very in-depth superhero campaign frame, and I really want to check it out. It looks so good.
Nice.
But yeah, so we're gonna continue this going. And I was gonna say, I remixed the Sablewood Messengers for the intro from like my session 0 of my Daggerheart campaign too. Basically, I took the mechanics it had, I changed it out for things that fit the Witherwild and what they're going to be facing and things like that. But I used it like the intro too. So
that's awesome.
It's a pretty good intro that's easy to reskin if you want to use it as like part of your active campaign. And that's what I ended up doing with it, and that worked. So that was my actual what I've been playing. What I've been doing, I've had a few different hobbies going on, but I've actually started development of my own TTRPG, and I say that with like an asterisk at it's going to be very light. I don't ever plan on making like a big TTRPG, but it's just this crazy idea that's popped up in my brain that I can't quit thinking about. And so it's a Western TTRPG, and at this point, it's going to be, as the players, you are normal humans in the late 1800s, and the idea is it's going to be more like Wild West, not necessarily historical American frontier, but actual Wild West 6-shooters and what you see in the movies. And maybe what you're fighting is more supernatural, but the whole concept at this point is rather than rolling dice, you're actually going to be drawing cards, and it's going to be all based on like poker hands. And anyway, so that's like just a crazy idea I've had floating around and I've started development on. And so that's been kind of still in my creative juices here lately.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. It reminds me a little, not a lot, but a little bit of the Bramble Trek RPG because it uses card mechanics as opposed to dice. Now they're not using, if you're basing it off like poker hands, which I think is awesome, especially if you're talking about like, a pair, three of a kind, like a flush. If you're basing it off like card hands like that, that would be really cool. And then you could even like have, it'd be hard to get those, right? But you could have some amazing combos if you do get them. But I think that cards as a mechanic is really cool, and definitely take a look at Bramble Trek, because the way they do their cards, they basically have tables that each card associates with a different move. So I think something similar could be really cool. Anyway, we'll definitely have to talk, because obviously we both love to design and create worlds. So
I love it. And so the current idea is like it's genuine poker hand. And so it's like, okay, say you're making a whatever check. Okay, you're dealt a 5-card hand. If you're good at something, maybe you can exchange 2 cards. If you're bad at it, maybe you only get dealt a 4-card hand, right? And so, and then actually in combat, you'll have a like combat hand, and then each round of combat you can play like a pair or play 3 of a kind or exchange cards or whatever. And anyway, I won't go too deep. Maybe one episode
No,
will
I
actually
love
dive deeper
this.
into it.
Yeah, I love
And
this, and yeah, I'm down. Oh, one thing I did
yeah.
think about that you mentioned this at the beginning of before we started recording, but if we're going for just like pure Western, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
However, during that time
Mm-hmm.
in history, technically speaking, there are pirates, there are
Mm-hmm.
cowboys, and there are
That's
ninjas
true.
and samurai.
Right. That's very true. So it'd be interesting
So
to bring
you could
those
have
in.
some really cool things come into that. But I
Right.
love the poker. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
you
That
could
is
have
cool.
some really cool added
Well, so
adventures to
my
that.
thought process, like I don't know, my thought process right now has been like cowboy and then like Native American. I think you'd have like as a I don't know class where you're actually using a bow and you're on horse, and maybe that's where like maybe some healing come in where you have your
Yeah.
I don't know. I got to historically
Oh,
look
well,
into that more,
yeah. We
but
should schedule some time because that's what it's going to come to, Jeff. Is
yeah,
we should schedule some time and just have like a brainstorm session because
right, for sure.
totally
Oh
down,
yeah,
totally down.
absolutely. Yeah, but
Awesome. Well, so what else has been going on?
yeah, so I've also, I'll kind of jump through these real quick. I've also gotten involved with SCA. So if anyone's listening, that's the Society of Creative Anachronism, which is sort of like, if anyone is actually from SCA listening, they're going to hate this, but it's sort of like Ren Fair, but the idea is to be more historically accurate. So everything pre-17th century. Anyway, I
That's
went to my
awesome.
first event and was hooked. Like I was in the garb. I had like a tunic and actual historic things, and I got to watch like rape, like true like rapier fighting and
That's so
heavy
cool.
combat and stuff. And such a nerd, and so I've started building my own armor, and I now have a rattan sword, and I'm planning to get into the heavy combat fighting. And so whenever we
That's
actually
awesome.
have a local shire here, and so they do have like weekly practices and fighting practices and stuff. So as soon as I get my armor ready, I'm going to start going. And I don't know, maybe Sal will get some recordings out and we'll stream some of it or something
Dude,
like that.
I
I,
can't wait to see
I'm
it.
I'm super excited for it. And so yeah, anyway, I've been kind of got into that. So that's where my hobbies are going right now. And the last thing I wanted to say is like more news, and I don't usually have news, but this has just been all over my Facebook and stuff lately. But Brandon Sanderson is evidently partnering with Apple TV to actually make the Cosmere TV shows. And so,
Yeah.
from what I'm seeing, Mistborn is coming up first, and then Stormlight Archives will be following suit. So, super excited about
Which
that. I hope Brandon's
is
supposed to have a lot of
cool.
creativity. He's supposed to be over a lot of it.
Yeah. I think so. We've had the discussion before, and we won't go into detail now. Like Mistborn is shorter, and so
Mhm.
I think it makes sense to start with that.
Right.
I'm only a little disappointed that
I'm
Stormlight's
disappointed they're
not
starting
going
with
for.
Mistborn. I
But
agree.
here's also why though. If Henry Cavill gets involved and he plays somebody, he could be some really cool characters in Mistborn.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong.
but he could be even better in
But
Stormlight
he could
Archives.
be some really cool. But you haven't finished that yet, have you? Mistborn, like
Which one?
Era 2.
No, I have not finished Mistborn. No, I
Okay.
haven't.
You know what? Then I can't say anything. But there's one character in
Okay,
particular that I'm thinking of that
that Henry Cavill could play.
he could play. And I will say this. He's not in the Stormlight Archive right now.
Okay, interesting.
But later you'll learn something that he's around.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay,
he will probably be in future things.
right.
So I'm not gonna say anything else.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, hey,
All
that
right.
was
So now
a
let's get to the
much
topic at hand.
longer discussion. Apologies, and if you've stayed this far,
Don't worry.
I will definitely.
YouTube comments are going to let us know we talked too long before we got to the subject matter.
So I will definitely. I should have said, hey, if you don't want to hear our hobby progress, skip to the main topic section. It'll be in there. But regardless, I will make sure there's timestamps. So
no skipping. This part's the dessert. You don't get to skip the meal before the dessert. I don't know.
Yeah,
you do what you want. It's YouTube, but still.
Yes, absolutely. So, okay. So our main topic is
Yes.
in-game mechanics. And I have probably more information than we are going to we're not going to read through it as
Right.
fully in this section. But I just kind of threw it in there because Jeff and I didn't have a chance to talk it out.
Yeah.
But in-game mechanics, as we said earlier, are basically physics of your game world, right?
Mhm.
When we look at mechanics this way, we're not just talking about dice math or rules text. We're talking about the forces that push players toward
Mhm.
bold heroics, cautious planning, chaotic gambles, or anything in between. And every system has its own kind of gravity, right? So its
Mhm.
own way of shaping momentum and tensions. It's got its own idea of what the world cares about. And so by treating mechanics like the laws of nature or the physics, right, inside of our fiction, we can get a cleaner sense of why a game plays the way it does and how
Mhm.
those rules quietly guide the story um, long before kind of anyone is rolling the dice. So,
Mhm.
um, Jeff, why don't you kind of also talk about again what in-game mechanics is in our critical system?
Mhm. Yeah. So, okay. When we're looking at things from our critical system, one of the things we want to look at is in-game mechanics, right? Like we want to know, okay, how do these mechanics work? How do these mechanics feel? Think of it like this. Do you want a game that's like crunchier, or is the game more narrative based, or is the game more thematic or cinematic, right? Like, and the mechanics kind of drive the feel of the game. Think about like two different games. If you were to play something like Stardew Valley versus, oh my gosh, what's that one game everyone always dies in? People always tell me I need to play. Really hard game. It's
Uh,
just gone now.
Not okay. I know what you're talking about. It's
Yeah, you know
Dark
what I'm talking
Souls.
about.
Dark Souls.
Yes, Dark Souls, right? Like it's like the difference in Stardew Valley and Dark Souls. Like ultimately, what makes the difference in the games is the mechanics of the games, right? They're vastly different mechanically, and the same thing's true in tabletop role playing games. Is you'll have games that lean more into Stardew Valley style, where it's all narrative based. Go with the flow, like whatever's cool, and then you'll have other games that are crunchier. We want to calculate all the numbers, and we want to have giant math, and we want to have big hits, and we have like very strong. And so all this kind of goes into the mechanics. And then like some games have a lot of player agency, where the players are basically an extra DM, and then other games are like, no, the players are players. They abide by these rules, and the DM says what everything goes. And so yeah. So when we're talking about mechanics, yes, we're talking about, okay, do you roll d20s or do you roll d12s? Okay, can the player choose this, or does the DM set this scene, right? Like we're talking about that as well. But ultimately, in-game mechanics dictate, I mean, almost everything about how the game looks, feels, the shape of the world, all of that is based in the mechanics. But yes, when we get down to the nitty gritty, it is what kind of dice do you roll? How do you produce damage? How do you make things? What abilities or scores are you using? What modifiers are you adding on? Yes, that's all part of in-game mechanics.
Yeah.
But in a bigger picture setting, it is the in-game mechanics is like the driving factor of the game. That's what makes the TTRPGs different, right? If it weren't for in-game mechanics, we would all just be playing one game.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And when we do our review, that's what we try to analyze
Hmm.
those rules and that flow
Hmm.
of gameplay, and how it compares, right? Because we're
Yeah.
looking at different types of systems. So,
Yeah. And very
um,
often we'll compare everything to 5e because that is the most common system that most
it
people are
is the most
listening or
common.
watching. They've played.
We did also play it together for like 2 years.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We also played it together for 2 years. So it's easy to compare it to.
yeah. But like even talking about kind of what are the core mechanics breakdown, right? So what are the features of TTRPGs, or what are the mechanical backbone
Hmm.
of a different one? Like um, kind of some different um, systems within mechanics.
Hmm.
Are like a resolution system. So are you using dice, like I said, d20s or d12s, or are you using cards, like you're talking about doing?
Hmm.
Are you using tokens, or narrative prompts, etc.? A lot of those things
Hmm.
shape how you resolve the conflict
Hmm.
of the mechanics. So,
Right.
That is something that is usually a lot of fun to distinguish. And like, there's a lot that are very similar, but then there's some that
Hmm.
are very different. So,
Right.
and I'm pretty excited that we've tried a few of them. Like I've played the Bramble Trek TTRPG,
Hmm.
and it uses cards. It
Yeah.
uses a playing deck of cards, and it's very cool because it with the cards with the tables that are in the book allow you to even play solo.
Hmm.
So, or there's resource management, right? Spell slots, stamina, stress, armor, fate points,
Hmm.
cooldowns, all of these resources, right? That's kind of another one of a mechanic that is important to a lot of these. So how do those resources shape decision making in
Hmm.
games? Um, yeah, so there's a lot of different things that go into resource management. How do the turns, um, how do the turns work, right? Like, what's the order of initiative? Does it even have initiative? So,
Hmm.
um,
Right.
yeah, and then like, what about like the next one there, Jeff?
Hmm. Would that be progression?
Yeah,
Is that the
progression.
next one? Okay. Yeah. So progression is going to be like, what kind of level ups do you have, right? Every system's going to have some form of, okay, you started and you were terrible, and now you're a little bit less terrible, right? And so on and so forth. You get better and you get better. And so, what kind of leveling do we have? Do we have XP? Do we have milestone? Is there narrative advancement? Is it, you have quick level ups, or is it grindy? Like all the progression, the advancement goes into it. And what do you get when you level up, right? Are you getting more spells or more hit points, or how are you improving? And like every system has something a little bit different. Like D&D, it has one system, and then like Daggerheart has a whole other system, and every game has like kind of their own mechanics in your different level up and your progression, how your characters get better and better at their stuff. And so that's one of the big features. Next would be like, how about your non-combat systems, right? Like exploration. Every TTRPG has some form of exploration. Is this game going to have a hex crawl, or is it theater of the mind, or do you have to, do so many encounters before you arrive at a destination? Also, you have social mechanics, things like downtime. How do you rest? How do you replenish, your health or your spell slots or whatever else? How can you craft or investigate? How do these systems work together to make the game feel like the game that you're playing or in the setting that you're playing? And kind of going through all of this, and the next part is like subsystems and mini games, things like vehicles and hacking and mass battles and maybe politicking and all these things. All of these are just different features, mechanics in the backbone of a TTRPG. This forms everything together. And one of my favorite things to do is to take my favorite ones and mix and match them, right? Like
Oh
obviously where
yeah.
they fit in, but I love to take like, oh, I loved this mechanic over here in DC 20, and I love this mechanic over here in Daggerheart, and I love this mechanic, and I'm just going to pull this all in to the game that I'm working. Obviously make it work with what you're doing, but
Yeah. I
that's
think
one of my
there's
favorite things to
been
do.
I think, obviously homebrew has been a
Mhm.
massive part of D&D,
Oh yeah.
especially this last generation, D&D 5e,
Mhm.
right? This last version. And there's been so many, so much growth in the third party market for homebrew. But I think that, like you said, finding those other mechanics from other games,
Mhm.
bringing them into 5e has been what a lot of people have enjoyed doing, right?
Right.
I think in the other way, we're starting to get to a point where, like with these other big systems like Daggerheart or
Mhm.
with um, mostly Daggerheart, I think that um, Draw Steel and some others, I
Mhm.
think they have the ability to start taking other mechanics and adding them to them now.
Mhm.
Maybe even some 5e mechanics could be moved over to them. So I think we're still early in that, but I mean,
Right.
I'm already seeing homebrew stuff for a lot of them because they came into it and they added immediately the ability for people to do some homebrew for them. So
Oh yeah.
it's very cool. But yeah, those are kind of 5 different, like I said, features of in-game mechanics that I think really form a system.
Right.
And
No, I think so.
and so I think that's great. That's great. But yeah, let's kind of move on just a little bit, and we could talk a little bit about some of those things. We don't have to hit all of these on the list.
Right. No. There's definitely because I mean we're talking about mechanics. This is such an
Yeah,
in-depth conversation.
it
There's a
really
lot to go
is.
into.
And
Yeah.
and this was kind of like a little bit doubling of some of these things, but talking about gravity, like we said earlier, right? Of a system, some systems have like real heavy gravity. And what I mean by that is that they are very crunchy and punishing and tactical. And so they really, you can get some players or DMs will like really min max stats for their characters, and they're almost that kind of gamification of it. But then you have others that are really low gravity, and they're more narrative. There's a lot more improvisation, and there's a lot more role play. Not that you can't have role play in the heavier
The crunchy one.
games,
Yeah.
but I think that it's nice. We're kind of in the best time to explore other RPG systems,
Oh yeah.
if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Because I think that right now, the 2024 5e D&D rules were not as smashing a success as they really wanted. And also over the last year and a half, we have gotten Daggerheart, we've gotten Draw Steel, we've got DC 20 coming out soon. We have the Cosmere RPG, which is only growing. We've got all these little RPGs, and I don't mean to belittle them by saying that, but all
Right. Yeah.
these kind of indie RPGs that are fantastic and have some incredible elements to them, and some of them are very light. I found one recently called Starborg, and it's literally Morkborg but Star Wars.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
And this guy wrote a couple guys wrote this. They're very very light, rules light, and very kind of generic Star Wars, right, if you will. So like nothing is true, licensed, but it's all there. It's all
Right.
there. And they're it's like $30 for like 3 books. Like
Yeah. That's
kind
awesome.
of thing.
Oh
So
yeah.
there's stuff like that out there that is incredible. They're very light, easy to pick up. And so, I think gravity is one of those things that you have to consider if the mechanics fit. Do the mechanics fit that gravity? We have Draw Steel, which is very crunchy and tactical, but it's also very cinematic.
Right.
And then you've got Daggerheart, which I think it's not rules light, but it is way more narrative and way more improvisational,
No, for sure.
So yeah, I think that the gravity is gonna of what you want to play is gonna help you determine which game maybe you want to immerse yourself in.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then as we're, getting into mechanics, one of the things we have to, understand too is like every TTRPG. I say this every being a pretty big statement, but I would say every TTRPG has some sort of system or some sort of story rather that
Yeah.
is shaping, that is taking form, and the mechanics kind of create how the story emerges,
Mhm.
right? Think you have a story, you have something happening, and your players want to do something. Okay, how does that something get resolved, right? Because there's going to be some systems that have a mechanic that says, okay, you want to you want to scale the building, you scale the building, good job, right? There's going to be other systems that's like, okay, this is going to be 4 dice rolls, a group check, and you got to stand on your head for 2 minutes to make it happen, right? Like, I mean, there are systems that are going to be like
Yeah.
crunchier about it, where, oh, you can't just climb up the building. You kidding me? It's raining outside. That's slick. The side, there's guards everywhere. They see you. Like, how? And there's systems like, okay, how do you resolve what happens? And in the same way, there's systems that help, that help in that. Like with D&D, we have advantage or disadvantage. Let's say it's going to be something, oh, it's something you're very good at, you get advantage. You roll two
Yeah.
d20, you take the highest. Or Daggerheart, roll an extra d6 and add it to it, right? Like, how does your story emerge? And the mechanics are going to kind of shape how the story emerges. Yes, you already have a story, but when your characters go to interact with it, I think actually a really good way to illustrate this, and again, I've just been playing a lot of Daggerheart, so it's kind of where my brain is. But the fear system that the dungeon master gets is a great way to talk about how the story takes shape. Because as the
Yeah.
dungeon master or the game master, you actually have fear, and every time your players they roll 2 dice, 2d12, one is hope, one is fear. Every time they roll with fear, you get to add a fear token that you get to keep, and then you can use that fear token later to shape the story, to enhance combat, to pull off special moves, to shape the environment. But you actually have a mechanic there to allow you to do things. And I actually have on my DM screen, I've created my own DM screen, and I have a metal like rod, and I have black skulls that are like beads that I
Yes.
put on
Yes.
there. And so my players can always watch as my fear is growing. They're starting to think, oh, we've got to like not let him build up too much. And it kind of it shapes things. It's a cool little mechanic that goes into the game that is shapes how the story is driven, what my bad guys can do, and stuff like that. And so mechanics actually play a huge role in the telling of the story and the resolution to the players, what the players want to do in the midst of the story as well. And so the mechanics will influence the pacing and the drama and the cinema and the storytelling and all of that. I mean, every game is going to have its own mechanics that allow the story to become to shape in different ways.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I think as well, kind of moving down at one here, an extra one. It's also kind of the um applies to like the player psychology, right?
hmm Yeah.
So, physics obviously is coordinating with the, in-game in world rules, right? But those rewards, they're rewards or their punishment for certain behaviors, right? So
hmm
think about if your player party is sneaking into a town, right? And they just start killing guards randomly, right? Just so they can sneak in.
hmm
There could be real consequences for that kind of thing in your system.
Right.
And so there could be punishment, right? But
hmm Right.
maybe there's also a reward because the guards are the bad guys and they're keeping the town hostage or something.
hmm
Um, it's there's this kind of reward for based on the mechanics that the
hmm
system provides. So and that's not even it kind of hits on the um oh my gosh, I can't think of the word. Not morality, but kind of alignment, right?
hmm
So D&D, in the past has had alignment. And so
Right. Yeah.
you've got that kind of like is the paladin, are they able to maintain their oath when the rogue is off being a murder hobo?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Are they now something else and not really a paladin because they've broken their oath and assisted the
Right.
rogue? Or have they gained reward for sticking to their oath from their deity, kind of thing?
Right.
So yeah, I think that it can really set up your players to make choices for their own personal character story that can really drive the narrative. So, and then
Yeah.
why don't you let's go ahead and jump to number 6 there, shall we?
Yeah, so this one is like mechanics being the bridge between lore and combat, right? Again, I'm going to say every TTRPG, and I can assure you, someone will correct me, because I can't say that every RPG is this, but every RPG I know of, TTRPG I know of, has combat, right? And combat, let's be honest, is a big part of it. And some people love combat, some people love the RP, some people love exploration, right? Like we all have different parts of it that we love, but at the end of the day, combat's going to be a part of it, right? And so the mechanics also play that, like this says, the bridge between the lore and the combat, right? Like, yes, we're playing a story-driven game. We're creating collaborative stories together, but we also want to kill stuff, right? That's part of the game.
It's a
And
game.
so, like,
Yeah,
yeah, in the game, not in real life. No, that's different. You shouldn't do
sure.
that.
We want to
But
slay or ride dragons, one of the two.
yeah, exactly. And so, in the game, there's going to be combat mechanics, and this is like, I think in most games, the majority of the rule set is going to have to do with combat. And so the different, the way that the mechanics work is going to shape the way the game is played, and again, how narrative it is, or how crunchy it is, or how cinematic it is. And all of this, like I've never played Pathfinder. I think it's 2E, second edition. But a couple of my students were telling me about it because they play Pathfinder. And like their numbers are insane. It's like you could have like an armor class of like 50 something, and you're doing like rolling like 7 dice for damage and stuff. Like that's crazy to me. And I've played a lot of TTRPGs at this point. But like to me, that's like that sounds in any way kind of really crunchy. You're doing a lot of math, you're figuring things out, you're rolling a lot of dice all at once. Whereas like you have other games, like I think of Draw Still immediately. It's like you don't even have to roll to hit. You just hit. We're just trying to figure out how much damage you're going to do with the hit,
Yeah.
And it just definitely shapes the feel and the lore and everything about the game. And so a lot of times we're talking about mechanics. We're going to talk a lot about combat mechanics because that is a large part of almost every system, is the combat mechanics themselves. And so I actually had this conversation with my Daggerheart group the other day. And so I want to ask you, Seth, what is your, I don't know the best way to ask this. What is your preference in like the feel of mechanics? And I'll start with my answer to kind of shape kind of the way I'm asking the question. There's a thing in Daggerheart where the only types of damage in Daggerheart are physical and magical. And I don't like that because I realize that I like my games to feel real. And I'm sorry, Fireball does not do the same damage as Ice Spike. It's just not a thing. Okay. Like it's different. Like, and so to me, it's like, well, I have a creature made of fire. I'm sorry, your Fireball doesn't hurt it. It's made of fire. I don't care what the rule set says. And so like, I just have this thing I like my games to feel, and I think I take things realistic, and I'll make up my own homebrew stuff. Like, yes, you jump off a building and stab someone. Maybe it's not in the rules, but I'm going to let you roll an extra damage dice because that's going to do more damage, in my brain. And so like I like my rule sets to feel cinematic, but realistic at the same time. I like to think about it in my head, like physically, would that actually work? So that's my preference. I don't know if that question made any sense, but we had like a long conversation about it with my group.
So like you're saying, what's my preference on that? I tend to agree that I like when the narrative drives the mechanics. If that's, and so I think, which is kind of what I think you're saying, right? Where it's
Yeah, yeah.
like, if in the narrative, my player jumps off a building and lands on a guy stabbing him, his weight falling on this guy and plunging this dagger into him is going to do extra damage. I
Yeah, yeah,
like that.
absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah.
And so I do like the narrative. I think it's why, honestly, I actually maybe played 2 sessions of D&D, like maybe 3. But it was like D&D 3.5 and then D&D 4, like 4th edition.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I played, maybe it was even a handful of sessions that I played. But then after that, I basically went straight to the Star Wars RPG from Fantasy Flight Games, which is very narrative driven. However, it uses a dice pool system that helps bring kind of the crunchiness back to a dice pool system and to narrative play. And that dice pool system was a huge inspiration for Daggerheart and its narrative duality dice,
Right. Yeah.
because they use this kind of duality of positive and negative dice in the Fantasy Flight Star Wars system, or Genesis system as it's called now. And so I love that system in that it has that narrative driving element. So I think I do like that a little better than the other way around, where the mechanics drive the narrative in the opposite direction. And I don't mean that in like a realism kind of sense, but like I do, and this is also probably because of just how much I've played and you've played over the years as well, is that I've moved past that kind of like beginner min-max video gamification of my TTRPGs. Because like when you start, right? When we first started, I had a little experience, but when we first started, you and Reborn were pretty fresh.
Yeah, we were brand new. Neither of us had ever
Yeah.
touched a D20 at that
Yeah.
point. Like, I mean,
and you both came into it a little bit. I think Reborn a little more than you, but you both came into it you're pretty intent on trying to min-max a little bit, and not in a bad way. Neither one of you came into it trying to be murder hobos or anything like that.
Right.
But you definitely were like, I got to get the best gear. And that was one thing that I always gave Reborn a hard time for, is because he was like, I always got to get the best gear. I want that adamantine armor so that I can just like not get criticaled anymore. And I never let him have it, because I was like, no, you're gonna suffer and not be able to min-max, kind of thing. And so for me, that was kind of me trying to make the lore drive the narrative for him, because later on I eventually gave him like one small piece of adamantine that was like in his shield, right?
Right. Yeah.
I gave it to him in his shield, so that I gave him a little bit of a
just a
what he
taste
wanted,
of it.
just a taste.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that the stats and the gear that he acquired were driving his narrative of trying to be invulnerable kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So I think absolutely that is my preference as well.
Yeah.
And it's challenging, but I think it's a lot more rewarding. And I think that we're seeing this shift in mechanics with Daggerheart and with Draw Steel and with the Cosmere RPG, all having that some sort of kind of narrative driving mechanic.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know in like Daggerheart specifically. Well. Yeah. I even know in Daggerheart specifically, there's in one of the books, it talks about how, like, ultimately everything's up to kind of like the GM's judgment to run the game how they want to run it, And anyway, it was funny. We were doing this podcast episode and we just had kind of a pretty long conversation about because there's just things like, okay, last example, and then we can move on. Like, one of my players has the I am your shield. And so basically if someone's getting hit with an attack, assuming it hits, he can basically jump in front of it and he can burn as many armor slots as he needs to block the attack. but there was an explosion and like everyone is getting knocked back. And so it's like he wants to jump in front of it. I'm like, no, physically that doesn't work. You're also being knocked back. You can't then jump in front of it. I don't care what the mechanics say. That's not how momentum works, you know? And so like just for my brain is like, I think the way you said it was really good. Like the narrative drives the mechanics, not the other way around.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that was rambling because of something that was going on with us, but
Yeah.
not that we had disagreement. My players are awesome. They just completely went along with what I said, but we had like a long
Sure.
conversation just about different mechanics and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and again, like I said, this whole discussion, mechanics, right?
Hmm.
It defines what we're doing, and that's part of why it's such a huge part of our critical review system.
Hmm.
So, I think that's kind of wrap up our main topic discussion, and we'll definitely try to have this season
Hmm.
a couple of instances of reviews where we apply our critical system,
Yes.
or maybe the peak system if it's a beta or
Preview.
something,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
preview peak system. But yeah, we'll definitely try for that, and so we'll have more discussions on in-game
Hmm.
mechanics for sure.
Oh yeah,
But that
absolutely.
said, let's kind of start wrapping this up. Um, Jeff, let's talk about just real quickly
Hmm.
2026 RPG goals.
Ooh,
Um,
yeah.
and so let's, if you need a second to think about yours, I can go ahead and go.
No, I think I can go.
Okay.
So my 2026, you know, RPG goals, pretty simple. I want to play more. I enjoy playing so much and playing and GMing. I would guess I want to GM more because I'm in my group. I'm the game master typically, and so like I want to just be able to play more. I want to keep the Daggerheart arc that I have. We just concluded one arc. I'm excited to get into the next arc, so I want to keep that one going. Next thing that I want to do is I want to continue development on my game. I don't know if it'll ever actually come to fruition, but I'd love to actually by the end of 2026 have a play testable version. Preferably earlier than that because I'm not a patient man. But yeah, so I'd like to work on mine just a little bit more. And then I don't know. I mean, for me, it's not a lot. Okay, one I do want to do is I want to play a superhero TTRPG in 2026. Well, we
You
actually
have
landed
wanted to
on
for a while,
City of
yes.
Mist last season, and we never got around to play testing it. So
I know, I
that is
know.
one of my goals is to play one because I am a superhero guy. I love it still, and I haven't never played a superhero TTRPG, and they're out there. So yeah, that's mine.
Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair. I have a little bit more specific with mine. I want to play the Cosmic RPG. That is probably my number one goal. And if I can get it in the first half of 2026, I really want to do that. I want to do that. I want to give it a proper critical review because we only really did it for the beta, and so I really want to do that. Um, I want to play kind of like you are just really bound and determined to play a superhero. I want to play a MechWarrior RPG. It doesn't. I'm not sure yet if I want it to be Destiny or a Time of War, which that's basically like a Time of War would be like 5e, but it's not really 5e. It'd be more like I don't know D&D 3.5 or something
Okay, I guess yeah,
versus Daggerheart, which is like
yeah.
Destiny. Maybe even a little more rules light than Daggerheart, for sure.
Mhm.
So I want to do that. I want to do more in-person games. And I'm going to
Yeah.
put a number to it. I want to play at least 4 in-person games in 2026.
Okay. All
Um,
right.
could be kind of low for most,
Mhm.
but this could be a very busy year for me personally and for my family. So
I hear that.
I'm gonna just set it at 4. If I can get one a
Mhm.
quarter in, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And then I do want to create slash write slash develop more, whether
Mhm.
that's maybe assisting you with some stuff,
Yeah, absolutely.
or writing maybe a short adventure um, for my Hearth and Hammer campaign, and then getting back to that a little bit. That'd be nice. But yeah, I just want to do a little more creating. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And so I'm going to add just kind of on here, anyone who's watching on YouTube, what is your 2026 TTRPG goals? Are you
absolutely.
creating anything cool? You want to play more? You want to GM more? You want to GM for the first time? Like, what is your goals?
And it doesn't have to be on YouTube. You could, if you're listening to the
Yeah.
podcast, please tell us as well. You
Yeah.
can absolutely let us know. And you can shoot us an email. You can comment on the YouTube channel, or you can hit us up on our socials. So which we'll have listed
Social
in the show
everywhere.
notes as well. But with that, I think, you know what, let's wrap it up. We are, as a podcast, part of the Love Thy Nerd podcast network. And so be sure to check them out. There's a whole range of podcasts available, but for us specifically, you can find us at youtube.com/at the RPG Rundown LTN, or you can go to lovethynerd.com. But what is Love Thy Nerd, Jeff?
Yeah, so Love Thy Nerd is a organization of Christian nerds. I think it's the best way to put it, that we exist to show the love of Jesus to all of our nerdy neighbors. We're just a group of people that love really cool stuff, and we love Jesus. And so we come together, we celebrate all that together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just in time, if you've noticed on the YouTube video, my puppy is moving behind me.
I
Although
see that.
he's not a puppy. He's 7 or so.
Yeah.
But his
That's
name is
awesome.
Boba. He's my corgi.
I
One of my
love it.
corgis. So, well, Jeff, it's been great, but it's
It
getting
has
late. And so I
It
need
is
to
getting
turn
late.
this in to Matt so that we can reach our deadline.
Yes.
But for everyone who has listened and stayed with us, thank you so much. Welcome to season 6. The episodes should be a little shorter because we will not have as much to catch up on, but looking forward to moving forward with RPGs in 2026. And so please, like I said, join us next time. Give us like and subscribe. Leave us a comment. We love having discussions about TTRPGs. So from our table to yours, thanks for joining us on the RPG Rundown.
And until next time, may your rolls be epic and your stories legendary.